Hello once again. Welcome to Zephyr's BI and Analytics, where we learn by building BI projects. Today on this channel, we are going to be building a dashboard for a retail pharmacy company. This would enable them get an overview of their daily sales. On this report, I'll quickly filter to a particular year, which is 2014. I currently have data for just the month of May, 5 days into the month of May. So I'll select the month of May. I have data for 7th of May. So when I click on the 7th of May, I get an overview of the sales activity for the 7th of May. An overview of this project, we're going to be connecting to the company's SQL database. We're going to be building our report using Power BI. We're going to publish our report to Power BI service, and we're going to pin our report to a dashboard. And finally, we're going to be scheduling a refresh. This will enable the dashboard to automatically update when new data is uploaded into the database. We're also going to be using ZoomCharts to create this report. With ZoomCharts, you are able to easily draw through your report without needing too much slicers. For example, the total sales by category, we have antibiotics. What happens if I want to see the antibiotics product that was sold for that day? I'll simply click on antibiotics, and this will draw through. It's telling me we have Zitromax, we have Tyvid, and we have Ciprotab. So I get to see everything about antibiotics without having to create a filter. I can simply click on reset here to reset my dashboard. So if it's your first time on this channel, hit the subscribe button, click on the notification to always stay updated when projects like this are uploaded on the channel. So for you to be able to create this report, there are a few requirements that you need to meet. One, you must have Microsoft SQL Server and the Management Studio installed in your system. You also must have a Power BI account, and you also must register for ZoomCharts for you to be able to use ZoomCharts for this report. Now, on the video description, there is a link to a video that will guide you on how to install Microsoft SQL Server and the Management Studio on your system. There's also a link to a video that will guide you on how to create a Power BI account without a work email. And there's a link for you to register for ZoomCharts so you'll be able to use ZoomCharts for your reports. What happens if I select 8th of May? This automatically filters my report, and I'm able to see the sales for 8th of May. I'm also able to see the percent change from yesterday. So once you have this requirement covered, finally, there's a link to a OneDrive where you'll be able to download the database file and also the background image for this report. So once all these requirements are covered on your end, let's proceed to Microsoft SQL Server where we can start creating this report. So once I have my Management Studio open, I get this prompt to connect to my SQL Server. Remember I said you must download the Microsoft SQL Server and the Management Studio. I'll quickly connect to my server. Once I'm connected to my server, I also said there is a OneDrive, a link to a OneDrive attached to this video where you can download the database file. It's Zephyr's Pharmacy Backpack file. I already have that file downloaded in my system. So once you're here, what you need to quickly do is come to Databases on the Object Explorer. Right click on Databases, come to Import Data Tier Application. Import Data Tier Application. Click on Import Data Tier Application. Click on Next. Now it's asking for the application, the source file. That's the backpack file. Remember, I said the backpack file I already have in my downloads, and there's a link for you to download the backpack file. I'll simply click on Browse. And on my download, this is Zephyr's Pharmacy Backpack file. I'll click on it and I'll click on Open. Once I have that done, I'll click on Next. It's asking me to name my database. Ideally, I want to name my database Zephyr's Pharmacy, and I'll say Database. Great. Once I'm done with this, I'll click on Next. Wait, I'll click on Finish. What this is simply doing is you are migrating the database to your own server right now. So you have access to the file already, you can migrate the database to your own server at your own end. I'll give this time. Great. Once the operation is complete, I'll click on close. All I need to do is simply right click on databases and refresh. I'll expand and search for Zephyr's Pharmacy database. This is Zephyr's Pharmacy database. I'll expand the database. I'll expand the tables. On the Zephyr's Pharmacy database, you actually see that on the tables, we have just one tables, which is Z sales. I'll right click on the table and just say select top 1000 rows. Great. So I've successfully created the Zephyr's Pharmacy database on my server with the sales data also. So once you're done with this, next we need to proceed to Power BI so we can connect to this database from Power BI. Then we can begin creating our reports. I'll simply close this and proceed to Power BI. While I'm in Power BI, I'll simply come to new and say blank new report. So we can start creating reports from scratch. So once on Power BI, I'll simply come to format your page report. I'll come to Canvas setting. I'll change this to custom like I always do. I'll make this 1080 and this 1920. Great. Next, we need to connect to our SQL Server. So I'll come to import data from SQL Server, or you can come to get data and say you want to get data from SQL Server. Now, I have my server name already as TechLab. You should know your server name before now. Now, there are two connections. We have the import query and the direct query. Import data, that's you want to import the data or want to create a direct connection to the database. For now, we'll stay on import mode and I'll click on OK. Great. Now I'm connected to my server, but I don't want to connect to the entire database. What I want to connect to is the Zephyr's Pharmacy database. This is the Zephyr's Pharmacy database. And the table I'm interested in is Zephyr's Pharmacy sales. So I'll check the Zephyr's Pharmacy sales, that's the Z sales. And I'll click on transform data. Great. So once we have the entire data in Power Query, there are a few transformations we want to make to this data. That's removing unnecessary column that are not necessary. One, item number. We don't need this column. I'll simply remove this. The product ID, we don't have anything on the product ID, so I'll remove this column. We need the name of the product. We need the category of the product, but we don't need anything on the size, the supplier, the serial number, and the description. So I remove these columns. The selling price, the quantity purchased, the subtotal, total we need. We don't need anything on the tax, so I'll remove the tax column. We don't need anything on the discounts. I'll remove that, and I'll remove the register. I'll leave the sales ID, that's the sale ID, the cost of goods sold, that's the cost of the goods. I'll also leave the dates, we need the dates. Sold to, we don't need this. Then these are just duplicate columns, we need to remove them. I remove these columns. I go to the end, tax, profits, cost of goods, these are duplicate columns. I remove these columns. Comments, discount reason, they are duplicate columns, we don't need them. I remove this column. Great. So in the end, we have just 12 columns. But here are a few things we need to do. On the sale ID, we actually don't need the edits. We only need the number. We don't need the edits, we need the number. So we can actually just create a new column that splits the column. Right click on the column, or you select the column, come to transform, come to split column. You can actually split by delimiter in this case. And say you want to split, delimiter is space already, each occurrence, and say okay. So we have the sales ID split already. I'll right click now and delete the column with edit. So I'll remove this column. I'll simply rename this to sale ID once more. Next, let's look at our date column. So we have the date and time in one column. So we want to split this. We want to have the time on its own column and the date on its own column also. So I'll right click on this. I'll say I want to split column this time around by delimiter. The delimiter we have there is a custom delimiter also, but it's actually dash. So I'll change it to dash and I'll click on OK. So ideally we have the dates on its own table now, and we have the time on its own column and the time on its own column. So I'll rename this to dates and I'll rename this to time. Great. One transformation we also need to do here, we don't need the or what I call it now, we don't need the amount attached to the payment mode. We just need the payment mode. So we can actually do a simple split column now. I'll right click on split on this column and say I want to split column by delimiter. And the delimiter I want to use is column, but I want to actually split from the left most delimiter, and I'll click on OK. This automatically splits the column. Now we have the payment type. We don't need this. We'll remove this. And finally, we'll just rename this to payment type. Once I'm done with these few transformations, the next thing we need to do is simply load our data to Power BI. If there are other transformations we need to do along the way, we'll do them, or we'll simply come back to Power Query to do those transformations. For now, let's just click on File, click on Close and Apply. Wait, so I have my 118 rows of data in Power BI already. The next thing I want to quickly do is to create a calendar table. I already have the DAX measure to create a calendar table. I'll simply navigate to the reports. This is my calendar table. I'll go to table view. I'll select the calendar table. Here, this is a DAX measure that would enable me create a calendar table within the specified year in my report. That's 2014, 1st of January to 31st of December 2014. I'll simply copy this code. I'll navigate back to the report. While I'm here, I'll simply come to the data view. That's the table view, not data view. Table view. And I'll say new table. I'll simply paste the code I copied. This is calendar and some columns on my calendar table. I'll commit this. Once my table is created, I'll come to the date column on my table. I actually want this data type to just be date. And I probably take another date format. Maybe I love using this, so I'll pick this. I also want the data type for the week ending to be date also, and I also change the format. Once I'm done, I'll proceed to my model view. On my model view, I'll connect my two tables using the date column, the date on the sales to the date on the calendar. I'll click on save. It's a one-to-many relationship or many-to-one relationship, be there as it may. Once I have this done, I'll go back to my report view. Wait, on my report view, I'll simply create a table to hold all my DAX measures. So I'll come to enter data. I'll rename this table DAX. I'll click on load. Wait, once I have that done, the next thing I want to do, remember, on the link to the OneDrive, the background image for this report is already on the link. So all you need to do is download the background image. I'll simply come to Formats, Page Reports, Canva Background. I'll browse. I'll go to my pictures where I have the image. Pharmacy, I'll select. I'll click on Open. I'll reduce the transparency to 0. I'll change the image fit from normal to fit. Wait, so I have my Canva background prepared. Next, let's begin by creating our card visuals. So for our card visuals, we have 5 different KPI: total sales, cost, profit, quantity, and footfall. And we've also included a label that changes dynamically, comparing the current sales to the previous day sales. So we have data for just sales from 7th to 11th. We're currently on May 8th now. Say I decide that I want to actually see sales for May 9th. So we're seeing the total sales for May 9, and we're seeing the comparison to the previous day sales, which is May 8th. So the labels, they change dynamically depending on if there was an increase or there was a decrease compared to the previous day sales. That's basically what we've done with the card visuals. So we're going to start by creating the few measures for the card visuals. If you come to my DAX view here for sales, we have just 4 measures. We have the one for the total sales, the sales, the day on day difference that's compared to the previous day. Then we have the indicator and the sales color, because I also want the label to either color it green if it's an increase in sales, then red if it's a decrease in sales. So we're going to do that now. We're going to start by navigating back to our reports. I'll stay on my DAX table and I'll say new measure. I'll just call these total sales. Total sales will simply be a sum. In this case, just a simple measure, sum of our Z sales. That's our total. Yeah, Z sales total. I'm going to commit this. Once I'm done, I'll come delete this column 1 I have here. We don't really need it. So the next measure we need to create is the day on day change for the sales. To do that, we have to create two variables, a variable that holds the current sales and a variable that calculates the sales, the previous day sales. So I'm just going to navigate back to my report and copy that. For sales, that's the day on day sales. It's a very short measure. I'll copy this. So I'll stay on the DAX table once more and I'll say new measure. I'll simply paste this. I have to do some editing. So my total sales in this case is actually spelled as total sales. And remember, we're using the date add function. We have a calendar table already. We're going back 1 day. Then I have to change this to what I have as total sales here. That's it. That's just all you need to do. Once you have this measure written out, you just have to commit and you're good to go. So the next measure we're going to be creating is the indicator. We want an arrow that goes up to say if it's an increase in sales and arrows that come down if it's a decrease in sales. So I'm just going to go back to the report and copy the indicator. So this is the indicator. It's also a very short code. I'll get back to the reports. I'll simply stay on the DAX once more and say new measure. Now I'm going to refer to the measure we created for the sales day on day. That's the sales DOD. That's what I'm referring to here. So you're just creating a variable. Say, okay, this variable should be X. It should refer to our sales D on D. Then I'm saying, okay, you know what? Return using an if statement. If the sales D on D is greater than 0, which is sales increased by. Now this is to format it to percent, and this is to apply the arrow up. Then if there's a decrease in sales, this is also formatted to percent, and this is the arrow down. So once I'm done with this, I'll just commit. And finally, we need just one more measure to complete the card visual, and that's the measure that we apply the color change dynamically also, either red or green. So it's a very short measure, so I'll just copy this also. Navigate back to the reports. I'll stay on the DAX table once more and I'll say new measure. I'll simply paste this. So what we're doing also, we're also referring to the sales D on D, and we're saying if the X now is greater than 0, we want this green color code. If it's else, we want the red color code. That's if it's less than. So I'll commit this. With this, we're actually done with the measures we need for total sales. All I did was just to replicate these measures for sales, the costs, the profit, the quantity, and the footfall. So I'll come to my model view. I'll stay on one of the measures and I'll come to folder. This is just for me to create a folder to hold everything about sales. Once I've done that, I'll hit the enter button. The next thing I'll do is take my sales DOD, drag it and drop it here. I'll take my sales indicator, everything about sales, I'll bring it down and drop it on the folder. So here I have everything about sales. I'll navigate back to report view and let's begin by creating the card visual. For the card visual, we need to use the new card visual. So this is the new card visual. So the first thing I'll do is expand my sales folder and drop in my total sales. So this is my total sales. I'll simply come to format, call out value. Ideally, I like using the UI, so I'll say use, and I'll change the font size to 30. Once I'm done with that, I'll scroll down to label. For the label, before I can format the label, I'll have to come up here, change the series to total sales. I'll scroll down. On this auto, rather than auto, I'll call this total sales. I want the label to be 14. I want to leave it that same color. Space between label, I think I want this to be 0. Once this is done, I'll simply navigate to reference label. Now for the reference label, while we're on total sales, we need to add, first we need to add the reference label for just the indicator. Great. Then we also need one more reference label. That's to display from yesterday. So that for that, we just stay on the DAX table and say new measure. I'll just call this label. And it should just be from yesterday. That's all. I'll commit this. So next, I need to bring that also to my reference label. I'll come back to reference label and say add. And what do I want to add? I want to add this label. Once I'm done, all we need to do is actually format this. So I'll go back to the colored value once more. While this is on, I'll change this to all. I'll simply scroll down and say I want to centralize this. So ideally, we're done with the colored value. I'll come to the reference label. For the reference label, while this is on total sales, I can turn off the title. Ideally, I don't want the title. Now, what I'll do is simply change the series to all. I'll scroll down. The background, I don't need the background, so I'll turn it off. Wait. The divider, I want the divider, so I'll leave it on. As for the layout, I want to change this to the center. Okay. Now, once I'm done with that, I'll simply scroll up a bit, change this series to total sales, scroll down, change the label to sales indicator. Now, this sales indicator, what I want to do is come to values. Now, for the value for the sales indicator, I want to apply the conditional formatting. That's for the color to change from red to green. It depends on the sales performance. So I'll click on conditional formatting. Now, this is based on field value, and the field value is actually our sales color. And I'll click on OK. Also, there's something you notice on the divider. I wanted the color to also change. If it's actually a decrease or an increase, it should also take the red or green color. So what I'll do is I have to navigate back here, change this to all, scroll down, come to the divider. Now, I also want the divider to be a broken line, so I'll say it should be a dash or a dotted line. So in this case, whichever one you prefer. Now, for the divider color, I want to apply the same conditional formatting. So I'll change this based on same sales color. That's a sales color. And I'll click on OK. Great. So this, we're actually done with the formatting for our card visual. So we've done this for total sales. We need to replicate this for cost, for profit, quantity, and footfall. So I'm just going to be doing all that based on these four measures we created here already. And it's going to be a little bit fast because we've already done this. It's just for us to copy the same measures and just replicate them for cost, for profit, for quantity, and for footfall. The first thing you need to do is just create the total cost measure. That's total cost, sum of the cost of goods sold. The next thing you need to do is create the cost DOD. It's same principle, same measure, just change the total cost here from total sales to total cost. Also remember to change your measure, the name of your measure. So this is talking about cost. Then we need to go to the indicator, same principle. Now remember, ideally we had profit sales here, but now we're referring to cost. So this needs to change to cost. When cost increased by, then we're using the same principle. Now we're referring to the cost DOD. And finally, we also want the color change to be for cost also. So we created the color change for cost. Using the same principle, I did the same thing for profit. Started with total profit, this time around total profit. Then we have the profit DOD. Now it's referring to profit, total profit here. Just change it, total profit, total profit. Then we have the profit indicator. Now remember to change the label. Profit increased, decreased, no longer cost. Then finally, also do the same for the color. I've created for cost, profit, and quantity. So I'll do the same for footfall. So footfall, if you come to the table view and we refer to Z sales table, we have what we call the sales ID. The sales ID is more like the unique for each customer that comes to make a purchase. They are assigned a sales ID, which is a representative of the number of customers that actually number of persons that came into the pharmacy to make a purchase. So you can actually see that 250, 250, 250, though we have duplicates, it's trying to tell you that all these items were purchased by just one person. Why? So for each unique ID, it's one purchase. So that's the representative of our footfall. So we're just going to do a count for that. We're going to count the footfall, distinct count. So I'll say new measure. This would be footfall. So it will be a distinct count of the Z sales ID. So this is the measure for the footfall. So the next measure we need to create is actually the DOD for the footfall. I'll just copy this once more. I'll stay on DAX and say new measure. I'll paste the code and I'll change this to footfall. Finally, I'll just come here and change this from total cost to footfall. I'll just change this from total cost also to footfall. And that's it. I'll commit this. Next, we need to create the indicator. So I'll copy one of my code for indicators. I'll stay on my DAX measure once more again. New measure. Paste this. This is no longer cost. This is talking about footfall. Now we're no longer talking about cost, we're talking about footfall. Now, after we name this from cost to footfall, do same for this. Once I'm done, I'll commit this. So the last measure we need to create for footfall, that's the color change. Same principle. Stay on the tax measure once more, new measure. I'll paste this, rename this to footfall color. All I need to do is just change this measure now to footfall, and that's it. So ideally, I grouped each of the measures into different folders. So since this is talking about footfall, I'll simply go to my model view. I'll stay on one of the footfall measure, and I'll create a folder, footfall. I'll hit my enter button. Now I'm going to take all the measures for footfall, just drop them on the footfall folder. Great. Once I'm done, I'll navigate back to report view. So we can create the 4 card visuals. I'll just make a copy of this card visual, Control C, Control V. I'll bring it here. The next thing I'll do, I'll start with costs now. I'll take my costs, total cost measure. I'll uncheck the total sales now. Go to format, call out value. So I'll call out value. I'll change this to total costs. We're good. So we're good. On the label, I'll change this to total costs. And I want the label to be 14 also. Great. And I want the spacing to be 0. Great. So once I've done this, I'll simply navigate to reference label. While the series is on total cost, go to my tax cost, I'll add the cost indicator. And remember this label we have up here, I'll add this label also. So while we're still on the reference label and total cost, I'll just turn off the title. Great. So once that is done, I'll change this to cost indicator. I'll scroll down. On the values, this is where we want to apply our conditional formatting. So conditional formatting, the gradient is no longer based on gradient feed value. And this feed value is actually the cost color. I'll click on OK. Now for the divider, I'll scroll up now and change total cost to all. Scroll down. This will enable me access the divider. Since we made a copy of this card visual, this color change we have here, this conditional formatting we have here is based on sales. So we want to go back and remove it from sales and say it should be based on cost, but you never can tell. Wait, once we've done that, you can actually see that we're done with sales and cost. I'll paste same card visual so I can make for profit now. I'm done with cost. So let's go to profit. I'll check the total profit, uncheck the total sales. Next thing I'll do is go to format, call out value. I'll change this from all to total profit. I'll scroll down once more to label. This label should be total profit. I want it to be 14. I'll scroll down. I want the spacing to be 0. Once I'm done with these, I'll leave the call out value to reference label. I'll change the reference label from all to total profit, add the 2 reference label I need. Now I'm referring to profit. I have the profit indicator and the label. Close this. I'll scroll down and turn off the title. Wait. Next, I would simply scroll down now. This label, I'll say profit indicator. I'll scroll down to the values. The conditional formatting should be based on what now? You can guess. The profit color. Profit color. So once I'm done with that, I'll scroll up, change the series to all, scroll down once more. I'm referring to the divider now. Now, this is not the conditional formatting. This is actually still based on cost. So on profit, on sales, I mean. So I'll change it from sales now. It's based on profit, should be based on profit column. I'll click on OK. Wait, so we've done this for the 3. We need 2 more. So I'll paste the card visual once more. We're done with profit. Next is quantity. I'll simply check the total quantity or check sales, go back, call add value, change this to total quantity. I'll scroll down, go to label. This should be total quantity. I'll scroll down. I want this to be 14, remember? And I want this to be 0. Once I'm done with that, I want the display units to be none, but I want the decimal places to be 0. So I'm done with color value. I'll come to reference label, change this to total quantity, add the reference label. Quantity, reference label is quantity indicator, and the label will have up here. So I'll close this. While we're still on total quantity, I'll just turn off the title. I'll change the series label to quantity indicator. I'll scroll down to the values, conditional formatting now. It should be based on rules, not rules, field value, and this value should be based on quantity color. Okay. Once we're done with this, I'll scroll up to change the series to all so I can apply the conditional formatting to the divider. Sales, no longer sales. We're talking about quantity column. Okay. So we need to do this one more time for the footfall. So I'll just paste one more time. Now we're done with quantity. We're referring to footfall, and I'll say footfall on check total sales. Okay. So something is happening here. That's because I didn't change my label to footfall only. So my conditional formatting is applying to both the footfall and the second label we have there. So I'll have to change this to label and the color back to black. Okay. So I noticed something is probably wrong with our footfall. I'll probably have to confirm that. So we need to go back to the reference label and change this to all onto the divider and apply the conditional formatting for footfall. footfall color. Click on OK. Okay, so I'll need to check the footfall once more. Distinct count. Footfall. Okay. Okay. So one thing, you don't need to worry about these values you have here as of now. The only way you get to confirm that is, let's just bring a slicer to see how our card videos look. I'll simply select one of the slicers here. So we have data for just May, and that's May from 7th of May. So I'll go to the calendar, and so I'll select the month name and the day. I'll just expand the slicer. I know we have data for just the month of May, so I'll expand on the month of May, and we have data for 7th, 8, and 9. So 7, okay, 8. So we can actually see the change, but there's a problem with footfall. We're not supposed to be having 2,400, so we need to probably check our measure. I'll come to the footfall, EOD. This is okay, the indicator. Okay, so this is supposed to refer to the footfall DOD. So there's a mistake there. I'll commit this. Let's see what happens now. When that is done, you can actually see the change and how it's been implemented. So it's 71%. So with that, we're actually done with the card visuals. So one thing we need to quickly do is just format the card visuals, resize them to make sure they all fit in. So I would go pick a size, general properties. Let's say we'll do 175 and 230. 175, 230. Okay, so let's make this 240. 175, 240. So I'll select every other card visual. So this is 175. This is 240. I'll bring them up here. Wait, maybe we increase the width a bit. Maybe we'll make this 250. Or better still, 300. Okay, 300 is a bad idea. Maybe 280 now. Okay, that's fine. So it's quite different from what I had. So one more thing we can do is come to format cards. We'll turn off the background and border. Then go to general effects, turn on the visual border, expand on this. The rounded edges, you can increase it to, let's say, 10. Wait. So do same for every other card visual. So I'll select every other card visual I have here. So see if I'll be able to do that. Come to format cards. I'll scroll down, turn off the background and the border. Go to general effects. We really don't need the background, but I'll turn on the visual border, expand on this, and change the rounded edges to 10. Wait, so once we've done that, I'll just position the first card visual and the last card visual. Now I have to select all the card visual, come to format once more, align, and distribute horizontally. So with this, we're actually done with the card visuals, just like I have in the report here. I'll clear all slices. Wait, so next we'll begin creating our visuals. We're going to start with this visual we have here. This is actually a matrix visual that is actually formatted. But before we'll be able to achieve this, we need to do two things. We need to be able to create a new column for our in our date that's in our sales table. Now we need to create two new columns, one for the time, that's the time, 24 hours. Then we're able to we'll create an hour category, then we're able to create another column to sort our time also. So what I'll do here, so I have two time one and time two. For time one, this is time one, is based on 24 hours, then time two is based on 12 hours. So this is actually based on 12 hours. I can't remember why I had to create that, but so let's quickly go ahead and we'll create our category column using this very measure we have here. This will enable us sort our category from 12 a.m. to 10 p.m. So I'll simply copy this. I'll navigate back to the reports. On our table, this time around, we're referring to our sales table. I would say new column, and I'll paste the code I copied. It's going to throw an error because we don't have the same table name. So I just have to start formatting to get same table name. This is sales time. So this is the table name we're supposed to use. So I'll just make a copy of it now and start pasting. This is taking time. So wait, so once this is done, I'll commit this, but we're likely to get an error. Let's see. Okay, we didn't get any error. So we're actually formatting our time based on this time already. Okay, so it's based on, okay, okay, okay. So we're good. Let's quickly confirm what we have on the other side. Thought we created a new column. I simply can't find it. Where's the column we created? What just happened now? I thought that's right. Thought we created a new column. I don't know what happened. You mean to say I just lost the data? Okay, so I'm simply going to go back and copy this. But one thing I'm going to do, I'm sure I'm not going to write this code all over again. So I'm simply going to open my browser, go to ChatGPT. I'll just paste the code and simply tell it that change table name to Z sales. So Z sales. I have to make sure the spelling is actually correct. So I'll down Z sales, and the column name is actually time. Column name time. So once I've done this, it's going to write everything for me with the formatting I actually want. I think that's all. So I'm just going to copy this code, go back to my Power BI. So while we're here, I'm going to come to this column. Maybe it ought to be a new column. So I don't know what happened. So I write this, paste the code. That is it. I'll commit this to see what happened. Okay. So we have the hour category here from 11 a.m. to, so you can actually compare the time. This is 10 a.m., 10 a.m., 10 a.m., 10 a.m. So we kind of want to pick just the hours. So this is 11 a.m., this is 2 p.m. So the next thing we need to do, we need to be able to sort this from, let's say, from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So to do that, we need to create another column. This column will enable us sort that. So this is the measure to do that. I'm still going to do the same thing I did before now for the other one. So I'm simply going to come to report view here. I'll go back to my ChatGPT and I'll paste the same one. Probably won't give him any instruction. Let me see if he's going to use his own brain to fix it up. He did. So once this is done, I'll just copy this same code, navigate back to the report. I also want to create a new column this time around. And I'll paste the code. Same thing, I'll just commit this. Once I'm done, the next thing I'm going to do is stay on the new R category I created, this, and say I want to sort this column using the sort column that we just created now, which is this sort column. So with this, we're good to go. We can actually go ahead and create the first chart we have here. That's the matrix table I'm referring to this. So we have the R, we have the footfall, the total sales, then cell elements. So I'm going to pick a matrix table, place it here. What we do have, we're going to be using the R category now. This is going to be the R category. Great. Then what we do have is we want the total footfall. We want also the sales. That's total sales. Great. One thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to come to Z sales and I'm going to drag the total. I'm just going to click on it and drag it here. So ideally I'll have two total sales. I'll have two columns for sales, but I need just one column. You'll see why shortly. So we need to format this. We'll come to format. The layout, we want it to be minimal. Wait, one thing we also want is go down grid, scroll down a bit, come to options. We want to increase the font size. Let's say 14. Then we want to also increase the padding. Let's say 7, 8. Let's say 7. Wait, once we've done this, I'll simply come down to specific column. I'll scroll down. For the footfall, I want to apply it to everything. I'd say it should be centralized. The next thing I'll do for the total sales, I'll change this to the total sales. I want to apply to everything also, and I want this to be centralized. So once I'm done with that, I also want to do this for the sum of total. I want to apply just to the header. I don't want to apply to any other thing. What I want to do is just change the text color to white. Once I'm done with this, I'll scroll down to cell element. I'll scroll down. I want to apply this to the sum of total. Remember, sum of total, not total sales or footfall. What I want to turn on is data bars. I'll come to conditional formatting now. I'll say I want to show the bars only and I'll click on OK. So I'll navigate back to the report we're trying to recreate. I don't have the total down here. We don't need it. So I'll click on this report now. What I want to simply do is grab this color code, cell element. It should be sum total. I just want this color code, so I'm going to grab the color code. So I'll navigate back to the report now. So while we're here, I'll simply come back to conditional formatting. So this bar, the positive bar, I'll simply change it to the color code I just copied. And I'll click on OK. So we have the positive bar. Ideally, I didn't have the total down here. So you can actually leave the total. You can choose to remove it, but I don't think we need the total. We already have total sales up there. So I'll scroll up, row subtotal off, column subtotal is already off. One more thing we need to do is come to the border, scroll down, change the border color to the same green color that we have. Great. So once we've done this, we probably just need to give our chart the appropriate label. This should just be R, while this should be footfall, while this should be total sales. And the sum of total, we don't need that, we're good. You just can make little adjustments here. You can also increase this. Great. So we still have a lot of space before we add our label. So why don't we go to conditional formatting, not conditional formatting format, come to grid and let's see options. Let's see if we can increase the padding a bit. Okay, make it 9. I think 9 is absolutely fine. So one more thing we need to do is just give it a title, and this title is going to be, I think we can say hourly sales traffic. I'll change this, make it consistent, 14, centralize. I'll just make this adjustment. Great. So with this, we've created the matrix table and we've been able to achieve the format that we want. Next, let's proceed. So we have total sales by category. Then we have the total sales by total profit by category. Then you can click to drill down by product. So this is where the Zoom charts come into play. Remember, on the video description, I've attached the link for you to be able to download the Zoom charts. You register, then you get to download the Zoom charts. So to get the Zoom charts, remember before now also, you must be signed in with your Power BI account. There's also a link to the video description on how you can create a Power BI account without a work email. So once you've done all these and you're signed in with your Power BI account, you've registered for Zoom Chat, all you need to do is come to the App Store here, get more visual, get more. So on the App Store, once you search for Zoom Charts, you are going to see all the Zoom charts here. We are definitely going to be using one of them. That's the drill down combo. This is one that we're going to be using, the Pro. So you can always click on it, then you get to add it to your visuals that you already have. I think you also get the either the 30 days free trial, or you get a trial, you get a license to use Zoom Chat for a year. So you can add for free or buy an upgraded plan. So you add this to your visual collections. So we're going to be using that. So I'm going to select the what is it called now? This is the drill down combo bar Pro. I'm going to select this. Now I have it down here. So I'm just going to bring it here so you see it clearly. This is it. What we actually want to display is our sales by category and profit by category. So it's quite simple to use the Zoom charts. We want to display our sales by category. Now we have category. This is our product category. We simply bring the category straight to the category field here. Great. Now, the next thing we want to display is the total sales. So you simply scroll down a bit. You have a lot of series. You just take your total sales measure and drop it on any of the series. For now, I'll drop it on series 1. Once I do that, I have this chart already. But there's something interesting about Zoom Charts. It enables you to drill down. Now we have products, we have categories within this product. We have different products within this category. So for antibiotic, there are some certain products within this category. For anti-malaria, there are certain products within this category. So we know for today, we have sales by antibiotic actually topping the chart in terms of sales. What if we want to see the products? So this is where you need to just scroll up a bit. Now, our product here, our name is actually named. The column is named. So you take the column and drop it under the category also. So with this, watch what happens. I know the total sales for the day, antibiotics tops the chart. What if I want to see the top 5 antibiotics or the antibiotics that are from which we're making those sales? All I need to do is click on the chart here, antibiotics. Then I get to drill down to see the antibiotics. So you can actually see Tyvid, you can see Ocifix, Clovinal, Ciprotab, and Doxycap. Now, interestingly, you can also scroll down to see more, to see every other antibiotic. Now, you get to see all the antibiotics, and you also get to see the time you sold 2 for this price, you sold 1 for this price, maybe 2 around 6 p.m. for this same price. So you get to see, interact with the visual. Now, I already know this is Tyvid. Tyvid was sold for 9,100. So 9,100, look, this is 9,100. It was actually sold around 2 p.m. So you can click on back. Just click on back to go back to the state you are. So we're just going to format these Zoom charts now. There's a way, there are a lot of formatting options you have in Zoom charts. So I'm going to come to format. And the first thing I want to do is I'll turn off my primary axis. That's my x-axis. I don't need that. Once I'm done with that, now he's asking me, yeah, I'll tell him I want to start my, I said him, I'll tell it I want to start my 30-day free trial. So I'll click on it. The next thing I'll do is scroll down. So there are a lot of formatting options with ZoomChart. It's incredible. So you scroll down. Now this is actually toolbar. For the toolbar, these are the buttons you have up here: back, zoom out, and zoom in. So I really don't need the back button. I don't need to zoom out. I don't need this also. What I only need there is the reset button. So I would check the reset button. Wait. The next thing I need to do is come down, series. Remember, we added our data to series 1. So I'll scroll down. On this series, I want to turn on my values. So I want to display the values. You can actually see the values for each of the category. That's the sales for each of the categories, sales value. So once I'm done with that, I'll just scroll down, keep scrolling. Then you get to format the labels. So I'll expand the labels. On the label, one thing I want to do, I don't want to make it center. I want to take it outside. That's the label position for X. I want to make it outside. So you get to see your labels outside. I think that's all I want to do for the label. Now, for the color that is blue, remember we're on series 1 before now. I'll just simply come up here and change the color to what we want. Simple. So with this, I've been able to format my my visual, the ZoomChart visual we're currently using for this report. Only thing we need to do is to add the title to this. I'll go to format, general, title, and this should be total sales by category. So I'll say total sales. So I have total sales by category. But remember, there's also an option for you to drill down by the product. So why don't I add that as a subtitle? So I'll simply come here and turn on the subtitle and say click to drill down by product. Click to drill down by product. So with this, we're actually done with the sales by category, the sales by category. Next, we wanted to look at the profit by category. So I would also just make a copy of this. So I had this selected. I can just click on reset to reset that. I'll just make a copy of this. I'll paste it. I'll bring it down here. Now I want this. This is no longer sales, but I want to also keep my category name and my name. So I just want to remove this series from total sales, and I want to replace it with what do I want to replace it with? I want to replace it with that's profits. So I'll select my profits. That's profits. I'll scroll down a bit. This should be total profits. Wait, so this is talking about profits by category. I'll just bring down here. Profit by category. So you can actually see it retained all the format I had on the previous visual. So all I need to do is just simply give it a different title. This is no longer sales, rather is total profits. So for the ZoomCharts, you have a lot of formatting options. This is just a tip on the iceberg. So there are a lot of formatting options you can explore. So now, interestingly, when you click on sales, if you drill down, what will happens? It drills down to, so you're talking about antibiotics. So it's telling you antibiotic, the total profit you have for antibiotics is 7.90K. So you can actually reset this. You can actually see the antibiotics. Now you still can click on these antibiotics to see the product from which you made the most profit. You can actually see the antibiotics Tyvid, we made about 2.6k profit. So I can actually click this to reset. Now it interacts with your entire report. You should know that. So next, we also need the Zoom chart for two more visuals. We need it for the sales preferred payment option. Then also need it for the top 5 products contributing to profit and their percentages. So to do that, we come back to our report. So we need to create a simple measure to calculate the top 5 product and their profit percentage. So it's more like saying we want to come to our DAX measure now and say new measure. This measure should be just be profit percent. So we're going to say the measure should be profit percent. Profit percent. And I'll simply say I want to divide. I already have a total profits. So I'll say total profits. Total profits. Put a comma, shift enter. I'll calculate. So total profits. I'll refer to my filter or the sales. We need the product as the sales name. I'll close this, hit enter, close this, finally I'll close this. So it's a simple measure to calculate the profit percentage for each of the product. Then we need to just filter to the top 5 product. So I'll commit this measure. I'll simply make a copy of the chart we have here. I'll make a copy of the chart. I'll copy and paste. So we have same chart here. So what I want is, this time around, I don't want to drill down. So I don't want to drill down. We already have the that option already. So I'll uncheck the category because we're talking about product here. So we are talking about the top 5 products in terms of profit, but this time around we're not talking about total profit, but we want to look at the profit percentage. So I'll bring in the profit percentage measure we have here. One thing I'll do is format this to percent. From general, I'll format this to percentage. So we get to see the percentage profit. Wait, so this is the percentage profit. So one thing we also need to do is to display this for just the top 5 products. So I would expand our filters while we're on the name, profit, basic filtering. We change this to top N. We want only the top 5. So we want the top 5 products by total profits. I'll click on apply. So this will give me the top 5. Once I'm done, I think I'll lock this to always give me the top 5 products. So the top 5 products, we have Tyvid, Tadalis, Osefix, Comatem. Now, anti-malaria is actually number 3, but there's anti-malaria here that is among the top 5 products in terms of profit for that total profit. Then we have the evening primaries. This is supposed to be a supplement supplement. So I'll select this and we need to rename this. What's the title? Preferred title. Okay, top 5 products contributing to profit and their profit percentage. So I'll select this chart. I want us to get the exact title. So I'll just copy this title. I'll copy this title, navigate back to the report, comes to format, general, title. I'll paste the title. The subtitle, I'll turn it off. We don't need it anymore. Wait, so now we have our sales, profit, and the product. So what happens, for example, if I drill down in terms of antibiotic sales? You see, it interacts with the entire report. you can actually see that total profits. We're talking about antibiotics. Profit decreased 2%. Now, these are the antibiotics with contributing more to profit than antibiotics in terms of profit. This is sales. In terms of profit, we have 9K. Then the profit percentage, you can actually see it here. So if I reset, everything goes back to normal. So we need to create one more chart. And this time around, we're going to also be using the Zoom chart, but we're going to be using the Zoom chart read donut. So we'll select that chart. This is the Zoom chart read donut. I'm just going to bring it here. Just resize, make it fit. So what we actually want to display here is just for us to see the payment type. The payment type now goes to the category. What we want to see, the sales. So we bring our sales. So we want to see how are these customers paying for our products. So sales will come to series 1. Not series now, that's the values actually. So I'll just bring the sales to the values. So we have this. We have this. Now, one thing we can do is apply formatting. I'll come to format. For the donut, I want to change this to be, say I want to make this 70. Yeah, start free trial. And I want to make this 90. Wait, it's as simple as that. There are a lot of formatting options you can also apply to the donut charts, but for now, that's just what I want. I'll turn off the background. I don't want it. So I'll go get the color code I used for the donut charts. I think I have to get it one after the other. So for the donut chart here, what we did was visual. We come to the fill color, solid, that's right. So category colors. Yeah, so bank transfer, we have this color code. Select this, bank transfer. This color code. For POS transactions. So this is for POS transactions. Then finally, for cash transactions. So this is for cash transactions. Wait, so this is actually sales by preferred payment option. So I'll just copy this, make a copy of this, and navigate back to the report now. Wait, so I'll just change the title here. Title, I'll select font format and centralize this. So this we've recreated the entire report. The only thing we need to do is just bring in our slicer here. So we want a situation where we'll be able to slice by year, by month, and by day. So I'll just remove this and replace it with year. So I want to be able to slice by here. So I'll go to my calendar table. And I'll select year. One thing I'll do is sort this out by the R. It should be sorted by the R ascending. Some weird reasons Okay, so okay, so we need to format this. We need to reduce the what is it called now? Row padding. So probably reduce this. Yeah, let's make it 8. Wait, so 8 fits well. Maybe 8 is too big. We still need to reduce the padding. Maybe let's take 7. Okay, so 7 is great. So for this, we have 2014 only, but we're going to change the formatting option. So for the slicer, I want it to be a drop down, and I want to turn off the header, and I want to come to title, turn it on, and I'll simply say select here. Yeah, once I'm done with that, I'll change the style, and I think I want to centralize this. Wait, so one thing I'll also do is come to general. I'll turn off the background. Then visual values, I'll scroll down to the background and change it to white. Wait, so this is what I want. So you can click on it and select the year. So I'll make a copy of this for month and for day. Make a copy of this for month, for day. Wait, so I'll just drop one here. One thing I can do is highlight these 3, come to format, align, and say distribute vertically. Wait, so we change one of these. We change this to months. This should be month. Then we change this to day. So this should be day. We also need to go change the title. So this is no longer select here. This is select month. And this is select day. Wait, so with this, we're done with the slicers. I think we're almost done with the report. So one more thing we need to do, if we navigate back to the report I have here, you actually see I have just a measure here that shows the current selection. So if I come to the month and select May, and select May, see what's happened. So 2014 May. So if I select a particular day now, look at what is happening. No day selected. So if I select a particular day, say I select 9, so you get to see 2014 May 9. So this is just a simple measure, current selection measure. It's a simple measure. I'll just make a copy of this measure that displays my current selection. That's my current date selection, to be precise. So while we're here, I'll simply just stay on the DAX and say new measure. I'll paste that measure I copied now. So once I've done that, we're good to go. I didn't make any change because we are actually referring to the calendar table here. So it's a simple measure. So for our selected year, the selected value, we're using the selected value function. We're selecting the year. If there's no year selected, display no year selected. If there's a month selected, display the month or display no month selected. And if there's a day selected, display the day or display no day selected. So down here, we're combining everything together. So I'll just commit this. So we can just pick a card visual to visualize that. So this is a card visual. I'll simply format this card visual now. Color value, I want it to be the UI we've been using. And this should be probably 16. Also want to turn off the category label, general effects, and turn off the the background also. I'll just bring this and put it here. And finally, we only need to bring a slicer, not a slicer now, a clear all slicer button. So I'll come to insert buttons. I'll say clear all slicer. So this is the clear all slicer buttons to clear all selection. But one thing we're going to do, we're going to format this. I'm going to come to style and I'm going to turn on the icon. Then I'm going to turn off the text. So this is just the clear all slicer button. In case you have any selection, all you need to do is click on it. So one thing I'll do, I'll also turn off the border. I'll turn off the border. Don't want the border. So you just click on the icon. So now, ideally, if you make a selection and on your slicer, you can, now I need to select the month of May. So you can click on clear all slicers to clear all your slicer selection. But what happens if you select a chart? Now you probably have to be set here, but ideally you can just click on the clear all to just clear all selection. So what we're going to do, while the report is in this state, nothing is selected in this state, nothing is selected in this state. We're going to go create a bookmark. So I'll come to view, I'll come to bookmark, and I'll just add a bookmark and say this should be clear. I'll just say clear. Once I've done that, next thing I'm going to do is select this clear all slicers button. I'm going to change the action from clear all slicers to bookmark, and I'm going to change the bookmark to clear. So now if I even get to select any charts, all I need to do is come back to click on clear all slicers. Even if I make a selection on the slicer itself, select May, select a particular day, say 7, I still can come, let's say select 9, I still can come to my clear all slicers to clear all selection. If I had to drill down by a particular product here, I still can come here to clear all selection and returns my report back to the original state. So with this, we're actually done with the report. You can actually save your report. We then need to proceed to the next phase of the report. That's creating a dashboard from this report and also scheduling a refresh. So when we have data from sales for May from 7 to 10 now, what happens when sales for 11 is uploaded on the database? We want it to be able to refresh and reflect on our report also. That's our dashboard. So with this, we're done with everything we need to do on Power BI desktop. We'll save, come to home. This is where you then need to proceed to publishing your report on Power BI service. Then we can proceed to creating a dashboard from there. I'll simply rename this from page 1 to, I'll just say Z sales. I'll say Z sales. Now, once you're done, remember you've created your Power BI account and you're also signed in with your Power BI account. So once you're in this state, the next thing you need to do is come to publish reports. You click on publish report up here. Do you want to save changes? Yes, I want to save the changes. Great. So I have a lot of workspaces created. When I created my Power BI account, I've created a lot of workspaces. But for now, just stick to using my workspace. Stick to using my workspace that you have here. Just click on my workspace and select So currently the report is being published to Power BI service.